make sure we got audio. Test. Are you over here? Looks like we're working. Hell yeah, brother. Turn up my mic just a hair. I actually don't need the screen share right now. Beep. Oh no. I've got my Into the Wasteland Raider picture. Maybe we can add. That's my fault. Image. Let's fix that real quick. Not raiding the wasteland. Maybe? There we go. Oh no, my face. Alright. Look at that. There's like less issues today than I think I've had in a long time. Getting back into the swing of this. Send. Just doing a chat test. Hey, all right, cool. So good morning. You know, we're finally there. Let's make sure audio's good. Hell yeah, brother. Good morning. It is Friday, the 5th of July. I hope everybody had a happy 4th. If you're not in America, I hope you had a good day working. We were celebrating our independence. I'm not going to make any, like, screw you Britain jokes or anything like that. Those are kind of overdone, I think. I will take my glasses off so you guys don't have the glare. And sorry about the mic in my face. Let's push it back a little bit and then test audio. Are we still good? Are we still good? Not. Let's pick it up a little more. There we go. I think we're good here. Awesome. So last time we just kind of did an overview on Old World, the Old World Alliance as a team, what I thought their strengths were, what I thought their weaknesses were, and I told you that the next time we talked on them, we would kind of break down what I took to a tournament. I did win the tournament. I ended up 2 wins and a tie, ended up winning. And that's really because the person I ended up tying with also ended with, I think, 2 wins and a tie, but they just managed to, like I had the tiebreaker because of the way the tiebreaker was set up. I'm trying to remember how it was set now. Because I think it was like total touchdowns. It was either total touchdowns or total touchdowns plus casualties was the first tiebreaker. And so I ended up winning it. And, I mean, it wasn't a huge tournament. I think there was like 6 players. It wasn't anything massive. But I hit, 3 very different teams stylistically. I hit Amazon round 1, and that's who actually ended up potentially could have won, depending on how everything shook out, right? So it's one of those, like, at the end of the day, I ended up getting the win, but that could have gone either way had they just gotten like a couple more casualties or a couple more touchdowns. Again, I don't 100% remember what the tiebreaker was at this point. I'm not going to dig it up. But I hit Amazon, and then the next round I hit Corn, and then the last round I hit Black Orcs. And Black Orcs are a weird animal, simply because I've never lost to them. I've played a lot of games against them, against a lot of different coaches, and that's just a team I've never lost to. And, it's one of those weird things where, I just started playing with them in a league that we're doing right now, and I was like, man, this has got to be kind of like I can shut my brain off team. You get all these strength 4 players, you get some goblins, it's pretty straightforward. And then I started playing them, and I was like, oh god, no. I mean, you can lean into the goblin chucking with the trolls and stuff, and that's fine. That's just, like, not my jam. I've If any of you are longtime followers, you know that I tend to try to make the game as hard as possible for me. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just who I am. I'm an idiot. We're all idiots here. So, let's go over my roster. If you're watching and you want to see it, let me know. I'll throw it on the screen. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of talk you through it because this will end up going on a podcast. So anybody listening won't actually get to see that anyway. So we've got a Troll Slayer. He is. We'll go through the list and then we'll go through what upgrades I gave them. Okay. So I took a Troll Slayer and then we'll talk about potentially things I would change. Sorry. We took an Ogre, we took a Catcher, we took the Dwarf Blocker, a Human Thrower, a Lineman, a Human Blitzer, another Lineman, a Dwarf Blitzer, and a Dwarf Blocker. So we took one Dwarf Blitzer, one Human Blitzer, both the Dwarf Blockers, a Human Thrower, a Human Catcher, an Ogre, a Slayer, and then everything else was Lineman. And this is, so if the format for this was the same as what GW does for their official tournament match play format. So if you don't know what that is, just look it up. I'm not going to walk you through it right now. Just know that that's what it was. I was able to get 2 rerolls. Looks like 2 dedicated fans, 2 assistant coaches, 2 cheerleaders, and an apothecary. Because you start with like 1.2 million to build your team, and then you get upgrades. So I was able to get all this, have, quite a few players on my roster. So, let's talk about upgrades, and let's talk about why I took them. On the Troll Slayer, I gave him Mighty Blow, because I just kind of figured that dude has one job and one job only, and that's to kind of like get in there and bash some butts and mix some guts, in the words of TK. Again, if you don't know who TK is, let me know. I will absolutely share some links with you. It's a fun little side project I do. And Mighty Blow just makes him better at it. And he has blocks, so he's not necessarily going to hit the pitch a ton. And, I can kind of torpedo him into something. And if I've got an assist, there's a good chance I'm going to have a 2-die block even into something like a Black Orc or a Chaos Warrior. So it's one of those where that's why we took the Troll Slayer. And that's why we gave him Mighty Blow. And like I said last time, I will never not take a Troll Slayer with this team. Troll Slayers are just too goddamn good to not take, right? The Ogre. So I took an Ogre, I gave him guard, and a lot of that has to do with, and again, like, if you know anything about me, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have, like, terrible dice. Because that's like the cliche dice game player. Oh, my dice are bad. What I will tell you is that my dice are bad in the most inopportune times. Like a good example is, who was I playing? I was playing my buddy Bailey, who's going to Tampa with us. Like, there's a group of us going to Tampa to play in the Blood Bowl tournament in Tampa. Playing him, I needed a 2-up go for it check with a reroll in order to get basically would have gotten a touchdown. It was a 1 into a 1, and that touchdown would have tied the game. So it's one of those, like, I don't know what it is. My dice don't have the clutch gene. It's not that my dice are bad. It's not that they're good. It's just like, when we get into the crunch time of a game, bro, I'm just planning on my dice taking a shit. That's what I'm doing. So I gave the Ogre guard because my thinking was that I don't have to activate him in order for him to be useful. If I give him guard, he's always going to assist, obviously, unless something has defensive, etc. But if I give him guard, he can just chill. He can be somewhere. I don't necessarily have to do anything. As long as I can keep him next to players, he can do something, and it's limiting the amount of dice I roll because I've just not had a good experience with Bonehead. Man, I've had games, a lot of games, where he's been boneheaded for most of the game. So, that's why he got guard. I did take Gerlinda Eisenberger. She's a human catcher, and again, Gerlinda just has like ties to a league, which is why she got the name Gerlinda. She got block, and there's no reason not to give a catcher block. You get block and dodge on a catcher, yeah, there's strength too, but at least effectively your opponent needs a 6 to knock you down. So it's just one of those where you're mitigating the amount of damage you can take, even though they're a little weaker and their armor's a little lower. If they only get knocked down on a 6, awesome. We'll cover that one last. So my blitzer, I gave tackle because he has movement 7 and block. So it's one of those where I felt really comfortable giving him tackle because I could get him anywhere I needed to be and make tackle a useful skill. I could, go for it if I needed to get him 9 squares. And I was not disappointed. That was a great take on that player. That was really what frustrated the Amazon player because they couldn't outrun me. And this was like only my second or third game into Amazons, but they couldn't outrun me. I managed to keep it a tie. Next time we play, I don't think, because like that coach is somebody I play with on a regular. And the next time we play, I don't think that game's going to be a tie. Like I'm starting to unlock the mystery or the struggle that is playing into Amazons and some of the other tier 1 teams that are just tough. Amazons are tough because they just they're so cheap. So like I casualtied the shit out of him. I just couldn't do anything because it was just like they had a million players, so I never had a real numbers advantage. And I think our score was like 3-3. It was not a low scoring game. So the blitzer got tackle. I can't recommend it enough. Obviously, tackle's a great skill anyway. Anything that shuts off a player's ability to reroll and just disables a whole skill that's actually pretty common in the game right now. Restream by we're talking about Old World Alliance, a Blood Bowl team. So I don't know if you're a Blood Bowl player, but welcome to the show, for lack of a better word. Doing a recap of a tournament roster. Blood Bowl so let me start with this. Are you American based? Because if you're American based or European based, for example, it's going to determine how I explain what Blood Bowl is. Canadian? Okay. So probably both rugby and American football at that point. Blood Bowl is Games Workshop's sports game. They make Warhammer and Kill Team and all that. And Blood Bowl is kind of like their take on American football, but as an American... Hey, that's fair. That's fair. I've done some chess in my youth, but I don't play so much chess now. Nothing wrong with that. I never played organized sports, but I was a huge basketball fan as a kid. But I'm like 5.5 feet tall, so I knew that was never going to amount to anything for me. But that's awesome, man. That's great. Chess is a great game, and, playing anything at a high level is always good. But it's basically Games Workshop's take on American football. I don't think 3 inches is that much taller. I'm just like really wide, man. Like it just makes me look bigger, I'm just like a fucking brick with legs. But yeah, so it's like their take on American football or rugby. on the surface, it's a sports game, but what it really is a strategy game with a sports skin. Because it's more about positioning and it's more about, you know, screening and outperforming your opponent, and you're scoring points. They're just in the disguise of touchdowns. Yeah, hey, it's one of those. I honestly, I don't know. I spent time in Iraq, and I was like average height in Iraq, but like I live in a, well, not now, but up until recently, I lived in a cornfield in Indiana, which is, you know, Lake Michigan area. And when I lived there, I was like the smallest guy around. Like, I don't know, something in the water, and everybody just eating corn. I am 41. So, yeah, I'm getting up there, man. I'm getting up there. I've been playing a lot of these games for a long time. Well, I appreciate that. I think, I think trying to exercise and take care of myself helps a lot. Just trying to kind of keep myself healthy for my kids. And honestly, like, the lighting hides my gray hair. So, give it about 2 more years, and like, if you're still watching, you're just gonna be like, God damn, that dude looks old AF. Hey, I appreciate that, and once I get done, I'll hit you up as well. We'll see what you do, man. That's awesome. I do like chess, so I don't, like I said, I don't play it anymore. Back when I was in the army, I did get the opportunity. I didn't even know this existed. I got the opportunity to play against a person who was on the army chess team, and like I said, I didn't even know that was a thing. And so we were on the no, we were out in the field doing field training, and we were out at like a big training base. It would definitely be quick. I appreciate that. It would definitely be quick. I'm way out of practice. We'll definitely have to schedule that though, but only if I can counter challenge you to a game of Blood Bowl. You got it, man. We'll work that out. I will make sure I message you once I'm all done with this, and we'll work that out. I have no issues getting my ass beat on at anything. I'm pretty chill about it. So, but yeah, I got a chance to play against a guy on the Army chess team, and man, he just like pounded my butt constantly. But it was hilarious because like after about a week of playing him, he was just like, you know why I like beating you all the time? And I was like, nah, man, I have no clue. He's like, you're the only person that I've played against where the game isn't over in like 3 moves. So that was kind of cool. But I don't think I'm bad. I think I'm average. I think as a chess player, I'm average. You know, like when compared to the general American population, I think I'm probably above average. But when you kind of like, oh, you play chess, you know, like I'm probably average. Oddly enough, so it's funny you say that. Uh, I kind of have like a touch of the tism, like legitimately, and it does help me with like dice games and games like Blood Bowl and 40K and all these like Warhammer style games. It probably would help me with chess if I applied that kind of weird brain thing I got, but I just don't apply it to chess. I don't know that one. I'm gonna have to Google it real quick. It is a video game. I don't play a lot of video games though, to be honest. The extent of my video games are is it multiplayer, and can I play it with my kids? And if the answer to both of those is yes, then it's probably a game I play. Like, we play Minecraft, we play some Halo, and that's, like, kind of the extent of it. Indiana. America, obviously. If you don't know, like, geographically where that's at, I'm by the Great Lakes. So... Gotcha. I know that's in Canada. I believe it's on the West Coast, but I wouldn't swear to it. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'm on the northern. I'm North Indiana. Like, I'm right by Lake Michigan. So. Yeah, I definitely know it's in Canada. Like I said, I think it's on the West Coast, but I honestly couldn't tell you much beyond that. Like, that is the extent of my knowledge. Yeah, effectively. Effectively. Wow, man, well. Seattle's a city. Like, that's about all I'm going to say about it. It's a city. I've never been there. I've been to quite a few places. Like, I've been to Tacoma, which is out in Washington, and a few other places, but, like, never Seattle. I had a buddy that was stationed out that way, though. So. Alright, well, I'm going to jump back into this. Feel free to keep chatting, but I'll be responding a little bit less often because I need to get back into this real quick. Like I said, I'm just breaking down. I took this team to a tournament. Breaking down. You're good, man. I appreciate you. Always good to chat with people, and I will always take time to make sure I talk to people in the chat. So it's one of those, like, I don't mind. I will let myself get derailed, though, if I don't keep myself on track. So, for sure, like I said, I will make a note to hit you up, and we can schedule that for sure. So we had the Human Blitzer with tackle. Phenomenal. Would suggest. Can't recommend enough. And then I didn't give anything to the Blitzer because I didn't need him to have anything. But like I said, both blockers had stand firm. And there was a reason for that. And then I had a lineman with kick. I love kick. I think it's a very undervalued, very underrated skill. Maybe I'm wrong. I just have never had a player that had kick. And I thought, man, I wish I didn't have that skill. You know, there's definitely skills that I've had where I'm just like, man, this seems like a waste. And kick on a better positional would feel like a waste. But kick on a lineman is fine. And kick... Oh, and I also put Hail Mary on my thrower. Sorry, I think I skipped through that. Kick is phenomenal. And the changes from last edition to this edition are much better. Because if I remember right, it's you have the die roll rounded down. Whereas before it was you could change the D6 to a D3. So that is a huge upgrade. Because what that means is if you have a 1 and you round it down to a 0, that ball just stays there. You can really pin that ball with kick. And it's one of those where, was it relevant every time I kicked the ball? No. Was it relevant every game? Absolutely. You know? So it's one of those where I think kick was a great take for me. And there's definitely some teams that could benefit from it more than others. Like, I think if you're struggling with Black Orcs, if you can manage to get kick on a Goblin, that's going to help you out tremendously. If you're a super low movement team, or you're a super high movement team, kick is a very valuable skill. You know, and if your opponent is a super low movement team, kick is a very valuable skill. It's not quite as valuable against the higher mobility teams, but I could see it having value simply because you could try to force them into try to force them to get a little bit out of position. It's not as easy with the higher mobility teams, but you could try it. So, that being said, let's talk about why I took what I took on everybody. I know I kind of touched on it as we went through it, but we're going to talk about why I took it. I'm not going to talk about the ogre anymore. Like, we talked about why I took guard. Human catcher with block, I feel like, is obvious. There might be better skills for it. But I feel like taking block on the catcher is very obvious. Like, having catch, having dodge, having block, those to me feel like very obvious choices. What probably isn't so obvious is taking stand firm on two blockers when blockers are arguably not that good anyway. Are there better skills for the blockers? Potentially. Tackle might have been a better take for them, for example. Being able to shut off dodge and then force people to dodge away from me and then shut off their reroll while they have armbar, maybe a better take. Potentially, because I don't even remember if they can get general skills or if it's just strength. I'll have to look. Let's pull that up real quick. Old World Alliance. There we go. Alright, so the blockers, yeah, they can get general or strength. So it's one of those where potentially you don't take stand firm. You know, you take tackle is good. You can take, I wouldn't take block just because they have brawler, and that's it's super weird. Like, I've seen people stack them. I feel like it's a little redundant. Like, brawler isn't perfect, but it's not bad. But yeah, tackle in conjunction with armbar could be pretty good. Armbar, for those that don't know, is effectively mighty blow, but for failed dodge attempts. But I gave him stand firm. I went into it with a strategy, and we'll kind of talk about it in a little bit, because what I will do is, I guess it won't matter. We'll talk about what I did, and I touched on it briefly before. The Hail Mary for my thrower. I don't know if I take that again. I didn't hate it. Really, it was just so, like, if I was in a pickle, I could take that ball, and I could launch it, and just not worry about it. And, again, just try to force teams out of position. So, a good example of that was round 1, where I hit Amazons. And they were coming. They were coming hard. Like, they were super aggressive, flying up the pitch. And so I was just like, okay, I'm just going to huck this ball all the way across the pitch. I don't care. You know, so, like, the last thing I did for that turn was go pick up the ball. Because I didn't even pick up the ball for, I think, 2 turns. Pick up the ball and just launch that thing. I don't care if my turn ends. It makes no difference to me. That was the last thing I was doing anyway. So I launched that ball. And then now they have to decide if they want to pump those brakes or if they're only going to send one person back, because they can't outrun me, right? Like, my blitzer moves 7. They're not going to outrun me. I'm going to be able to catch them. I'm going to be able to kind of, like, hit them. I have tackle, you know, on my blitzer. So if my blitzer does break through into the backfield, which it did, I can, whoever gets that ball, if they don't get rid of it, I can effectively make sure they go down. So it's one of those, like, I went into that game and I was like, all right, Hail Mary, and I think I only used it the one time, but it basically got me a touchdown because it kind of threw them into disarray. They were like, oh my gosh, the ball is now way back here. I know this is a thing you can do, but I just didn't prepare for that. Like, they were very aggressive, so I just launched the ball, sent my catcher and my blitzer down the field, and was just like, all right, this is what we're doing. So that's why I took Hail Mary. I don't know if I take it again. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I used it every game. But I don't think there was ever a point where I was like, I'm glad I have this. It was more like, I have this, so I'm going to use it. If that makes sense. So that's a breakdown of what we took. Those are the breakdowns of the skills we took. Would I change anything? Yes. First thing I'd change is I'd swap the ogre for the tree man. The tree man is cheaper, and for what I'm doing, the tree man is perfect. And what I mean by that is why I gave those blockers Mighty Blow, or not Mighty Blow, Stand Firm, was I wanted 2 to 3 models that I could put down, the 3 being the ogre and the 2 blockers. The ogre has guard, so he always assists the blocker, so I effectively have 2 strength 4 models that I could anchor the line with. And then what I did with that was like, okay, we're not going anywhere. Everything here is armor 10. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to sit and look at each other. You get to figure it out. I am not dealing with it. And Mighty Blow is not what I wanted. I wanted Stand Firm. So Stand Firm, the player may choose not to be pushed back, either as the result of a block action made against them or by a chain push. Using this skill does not prevent an opposition player with the Frenzy from performing a second block. Cool. That's cool. It basically means if you want to, you can just not be pushed. When this player performs a block action... When this player... I'm just double checking something, sorry. So, and that, yep. And I wanted to just double check it because, like, that's how it was ruled at the tournament. And that's how I've seen it ruled, and I just wanted to read the rules for myself. Where it was really good was into the Black Orcs. They were like, I have grab. And I'm like, cool, I'm not going anywhere. I don't give a shit. And it just, like, when you're playing against those lower movement teams like Black Orcs, where they rely on the pushes and the blocks to get that extra movement, you can just be like, nah, dog, that ain't me. And so it really can hamper them. Couple that with, I hit Corn round 2. Yeah, they got their second block, but they weren't able to frenzy up the field to kind of like push the line and keep making progress. You know, so it was one of those where they had to just kind of be stuck. You know, I basically created a tar pit with the Stand Firm skill, like 3 dudes with Stand Firm, created a tar pit and was just like, this is what we're doing, guys. Like, oh well. And the only game I would say it wasn't super relevant was the game against the Amazons, but it's not even that it wasn't relevant. It's just like the way they played that game, it made it irrelevant. Like, oh, I'm going to dodge away from you. Because Amazons, to me, are kind of like halflings. Like, if you can roll a 3 or higher, you're going to get to do whatever you want that game. You know, because, like, they dodge on a 3-up, they have a reroll on the dodge. So it's like, if you can roll a 3 or higher, you're going to basically get to do what you want. So, but yeah, so my first game was a tie game. I'll see if I can pull up the results and we'll kind of talk through that. Oh, it was a low-scoring tie. It was a 1-1. I apologize. I was thinking it was a... Oh, no, it wasn't. I'm just an idiot. It was a 2-2 tie, which isn't terrible. Like, it's not a high-scoring game. My game against the Corn player was a 0-2, and part of that was just dice. Like, I just, like, got some spicy dice, like, in the middle chunk of the game, and was able to knock out some key pieces. But The stand firm was definitely a very frustrating thing for him, coupled with armor 10. And that's why I would switch it out for the tree man, because the tree man also has stand firm, and I believe it's armor 11. So again, if I give the tree man guard, I now have this brick that's just not going anywhere. And I just set him down, and it's like, fine, you want to sit here and beat on my armor 10 dudes. If you break their armor and you knock them out of the game, I guess it was just meant to be. That's just how it is. Oh well, you know. So that was my thinking. And then round 3 was a 1-0 win over the Black Orcs. And that was just kind of a rough matchup. Because again, this stand firm just shutting off what the Black Orcs do. And again, just like, this is it, you know. Hail Mary being able to kind of chuck that ball and be like, all right, man, go have your goblins fetch the ball so I can go beat him up. Like, unfortunately for that player, he is a little out of practice, and it was just a little rusty, and it was just kind of a positioning, like, issue. It was a lot going on. But overall, I wouldn't change too much. I may consider, like I said, I would drop the tree man. I would drop the ogre, pick up a tree man. Let me pull my teams up again real quick. There we go. And that actually would free up 20,000. And with 20,000 freed up, and then dedicated fans. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. There we go. So with 20,000 freed up, if I wanted to, I could drop like cheerleaders or 2 of those, pick up a halfling, and just open up the toolbox to have that turn 1 or 1 turn touchdown if I wanted to. And that's arguably a better play because it gives you more tools in the toolbox and lets you. You don't have to. You know what I mean? Just the fact that you can will change the way your opponent approaches the game. You know, I don't need to 1 turn touchdown you. Just the threat of it can change, like, your defensive setup, for example. So overall, like, that would probably be a change I made if I swap out the ogre for the tree man. And I think that's the way to go. Like, I absolutely think that's the way to go. So, I'm not, again, and we talked about this last time, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, like, get these 1 turn touchdowns, focus on that. That should be your main strategy. But having that in your toolbox is by no means a bad thing, because it's just one more thing that your opponent has to account for. And with a team like the Old World Alliance, they're not good, right? Like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Like, they're not great. They're not like I'm going to beat you a million different ways type of team. But what they are is, I've got a few things that I can do. And if you're a good coach, you can exploit those few things to kind of make them work for you. You know, like I said before, I feel like they struggle to establish an identity. And what I tried to do with this tournament was I tried to, like, just shoehorn an identity on them. And I think I did a pretty good job. I was just like, you know, I don't need to beat people up. I just need to kind of, like, tar pit people. And I just need to, like, tie up some key pieces so that my scoring pieces can go to work. And, like I said, it did end up working. I don't know how well. Like, I mean, obviously well enough that I won. But we're going to have, I think, 1, 2 to 3 more tournaments before I go to Tampa is what I think I'm looking at. And once I do another 1 or 2 tournaments, I think I'll have a much better idea of, like, where I want them to be. And that's going to be the first change I make, is dropping the ogre, picking up the tree man, and kind of going from there. So, Really, I think that's going to wrap it up. I don't think there's much I can say about this roster that I haven't already. So, big shout out to everybody watching. I'm going to hit you up there, man, about our chess game. Probably do it later today because as soon as I'm done with this, I got to jump into some video editing on some animation that I've done. So, I appreciate you hopping in here, though. And then that being said, thanks everybody for watching. If you're on the podcast, thanks for listening. You guys have a great day. And next week, we're going to talk about Raiders. We're going to dip into Scavers, I believe, is what's on the menu. I'll have to check my schedule on that. But that's for Fallout Wasteland Warfare. So if you like tabletop games, man, like I'm going to be talking about a few of them. One last thing. If you are a 40K player and you were originally here for my 40K content, I know I haven't done anything 40K related in a while. And that's just because I just don't like 10th. That's just the way it is. What I have started doing is we've kind of like made our own Frankenstein edition. I'll do my own whole separate video on that. But we'll talk about that because, like, if you're interested, I may get some community feedback and some community help with regards to, like, writing rules and writing codexes and stuff. And maybe, like, with all of our powers combined, we can make an edition that is fun, balanced, and generally pretty lore-friendly. So if you're interested in that, hit me up in the comments. Outside of that, you guys have a great weekend. If you're stateside, again, hope you have a safe 4th of July weekend. Hope you had a happy, safe 4th. If you're not stateside, have fun doing whatever it is you do.